Well, let's begin. I'm rebuilding my editing PC using parts from previous builds on this channel and a brand new Ryzen 9950x. And we're going to be using this criminally underrated case. This is the glass version, but it also comes in a front mesh version. At $150, this is the wildest RTX case I've built in that I've never heard of. All the panels are toolless and held in place with durable clips. The top panel will bend if you use too much force on it, so be careful. The side panels are sturdy, and I feel like I could open them up 1,000 times before the clips eventually fail. As you can see, there's a lot of room above the motherboard for cable management. The bottom intake has a large magnetic dust filter. This will provide filtered intake air through the bottom 140mm fans, helping cool the case. The rear panel is like the top, ventilated, but could bend easily if you reef on it too hard. Taking a look at the back, you see where the PSU goes. This location is genius, and you see this location used a lot in smaller cases. It makes for very efficient cable runs. What's interesting is that you can mount 120mm fans up here. I'm not going to, because I want to use these holes for cable management, but here's a look at how a fan would go in there. The customizability of how you want your rig in this case makes me very happy. The 5 included 140mm fans come pre-daisy chained together, and Geometric Future does a good job of cable management with them. The fans do move a lot of air. At high speeds they are pretty loud though, but with 5 of them you can run them slower and still get pretty good airflow. This is the GPU sag bracket that can be repositioned. Take a look at what Geometric calls the display platform. You can display whatever you want on it. It's also an air baffle. It's designed to force intake air from the bottom and side fan toward the GPU and not just straight up out of the case. I'm going to remove it while I build. This case is weird, and I love it. Notice those front panel connectors. They share the PSU compartment and run right through it. My PSU is long. It's the Corsair 1000 watt RMX. Let's get it installed. First, we have to remove the bracket from the top, then we can fasten the PSU to the bracket. I'm going to pre-run my cables before I put the PSU back in, otherwise there won't be enough room for cables to bend through the cable management holes. It is actually pretty tight in there. See, look how tight it is in there. Those front panel connectors will have to be readjusted. It's a tight fit. One of the few complaints about this case I have is the PSU size compatibility. Longer PSUs make the cable management just a little more challenging than it needs to be. But we'll make it work. One thing I love about this case are all the anchor points that I'll be able to use to tie down my cables. The PSU power cable will need to run across the top of the case. Alright, let's get this motherboard prepped. As I already mentioned, I'm using a Ryzen 9950x for this build, as I'm primarily using it for video editing for my multiple YouTube channels. The motherboard is an MSI B650 Carbon. I decided not to go with any of the new motherboards, as the B650 chipset is perfect for what I'm using this for. The SSD I'm using for my operating and application drive is a Samsung 990 Pro. And the RAM I'm going with is 96GB of G.SKill Trident DDR5 6400 MHz RAM. Let's get that all installed and screw the motherboard into the case. The case comes with all the required RTX standoffs pre-installed. There's ample room to be able to access all the screw points. I did it with the case standing up. Now, I was sent this white version of this case. Although I do like the white, I think the black motherboard and black cables look stupid in it. I wish I was sent the black and gray version, but as the Rolling Stones say, you can't always get what you want. Let's run and plug the front panel connections in. The front panel audio, the USB-A, the USB-C, and the power reset activity light connectors. There's plenty of different openings to be able to run all these connectors how you want to or what's easiest to. This is the power buttons. This is the USB-A. This is the USB-C. And this is the front audio port. Okay, this is me getting the 8-pin CPU cable ran up top and the 16-pin GPU cable ran down here. Get those out of the way so we have room to work with the thick 24-pin connector. A 420mm radiator could go up top here, but I'm gonna just be using a 360mm Thermalright. All the fan power and fan RGB wires from the Thermalright can be ran behind. As you can see, the amount of room to work with up top here is insane. Let's just get all these wires out of the way and get them ran through to the back of the case, where we'll plug them in later. For now, let's get the cooling block mated to the CPU. Once again, access to the mounting screws are easily accessible in this case. Alright, now that that's on, let's get this pump block power and RGB cables ran behind and then back to the front and plugged into the motherboard. And of course, I have to daisy chain all the radiator, fan, RGB, and power connectors together. Then I'll be able to plug them all into the motherboard as well, using just one header for each. I did some cable management here. Geometric Future gives you a lot of these cable straps, which are very helpful. I zip tied some of the wires up top here. Everything is nice and clean and snug. I just got to get the 5 included geometric fans plugged in at the bottom and all the wires secured. Alright, time to install the MSI Gaming Slim 4080 Super. And once it's installed and the power is plugged in, we will get rid of the GPU sag by adjusting the anti-GPU sag bracket thing. I just wanted to say, while I have a minute here, it is an absolute pleasure to be able to build these computers on my channel, to be able to share them with you. I hope you are entertained. Whether it's your first time watching the channel or whether you've seen multiple videos, I'm glad you're here. I love this case. I had a blast building in it. The last time I was this excited about a standard size ATX case was probably the Lee & Lee Landcool 216. I appreciate Geometric Future for trying a few new things with this case. Although this case is not perfect, for the money you pay, this case is very underrated and it's very awesome. Anyways, let's get these panels all back on, and then let's spool this bad boy up.